Most minds will collapse under pressure. Yours doesn't have to. What you've been told about performance, intelligence, natural talent is corruption. A comfortable lie dressed as logic. But here's the unfiltered truth. You are not here to compete with geniuses. You're here to override them. This isn't motivation. It's war. And the battlefield is your own mind. Every time you procrastinate, scroll, hesitate, you fracture your momentum. You armor your weakness. And worse, you let average become your default setting. But there is another path. A volatile, irreversible transformation that will fracture your limits and force your evolution. This video is not content. It's a threshold. Inside, you'll learn how to trigger neural flow on command, collapse cognitive fatigue, and become battle-tested in a world addicted to comfort. This is about becoming sovereign over your own energy, your own attention, your own output. But make no mistake, once you start, you don't come back the same. Commit fully or click away. Let's begin. Energy is a decision, not a feeling. Most people wait for motivation like it's some divine lightning strike. But here's the truth. Energy is not a feeling. It's a decision. You don't need to feel like doing the work. That's for amateurs. High performers, killers, as some call them, move without mood. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They create clarity and then act on it. No hesitation, no negotiation, just movement. And that movement generates energy like a turbine spinning from momentum. You're tired? No, you're undecided. The fog you feel isn't fatigue. It's friction caused by too many mental tabs open. Choice is killing your fire. The second you think about whether or not to begin, you're already late. Winners eliminate choice at the gate. They don't try. They start automatically, like brushing your teeth, like breathing. Your brain is a pattern machine. So wire in the pattern. Stack behaviors until action becomes identity. Do you think elite performers feel like grinding every day? Of course not. They've just taught their minds that clarity means go. Period. No pause, no vibe check. Just direction over emotion. That's how energy is manufactured. This is the power of intention. The moment you link meaning to motion, energy flows. You're not dragging yourself. You're pulled by purpose. When you know what matters, movement becomes a ritual, not a struggle. That's how you conserve power. Not by sitting still, but by knowing exactly where to aim. Geniuses? They optimize energy, but monsters? They summon it on command. That's the difference between being talented and being unstoppable. Your edge is not more sleep, more coffee, or more inspiration. Your edge is making movement your baseline, not your reward. So the next time you think about waiting for the right time to start, don't. Start. And let your body, your mind, your entire nervous system feel the shift. Because momentum isn't magic, it's a muscle. Energy is not a mystery, it's a choice. Make it. 2. Let them talk. You rewire. Burnout is a myth, at least the way most people define it. What you call exhaustion is often just distraction in disguise. Your brain isn't tired, it's tangled, flooded with open loops, dopamine leaks, and fragmented thoughts pulling you in every direction but forward. What you're feeling isn't fatigue, it's friction. Undisciplined thinking masquerading as mental collapse. The fix? Not more breaks, not another scroll session. It's structure. You don't need rest. You need rituals. Let them talk. Let them fill the air with noise, opinions, and empty stimulation. Meanwhile, you rewire. You step into the quiet, not as an escape, but as a forge. Silence isn't weakness, it's surveillance. You're not running from the world, you're watching it, strategizing, recalibrating, The best minds don't drown in chaos. They hunt in silence. While everyone else is chasing dopamine, you're deleting distractions like malware. You're building a firewall in your mind. One clear thought at a time. Mental stamina isn't born, it's trained. Just like a muscle, your focus grows through resistance. You don't need motivation, you need reps. Discipline your attention the way athletes train form. Repeated drills, deliberate movement, no guesswork. That means designing protocols, not hoping for peace, but engineering it. Time blocks, no notification zones, mental warm-ups. The more consistent the structure, the sharper the focus. Want a sharper brain? Starve it from junk. Audit your inputs. Remove the apps that rot your drive. Replace reaction with reflection. The fewer stimuli you consume, the more clarity you produce. Genius isn't about absorbing more. It's about filtering ruthlessly. Every time you train your mind to stay when it wants to flee, every time you sit in silence and resist the pull of the trivial, you gain control. This is what separates amateurs from assassins. The ability to direct your mental energy with precision. So let the world stay noisy. Let them scroll, panic, distract themselves to sleep. You're rewiring, and that silence, it isn't empty. It's the sound of power loading. 3. Obsess with boredom. Boredom isn't your enemy. It's the gatekeeper of genius. Every mind you've ever admired, every icon who reshaped history, mastered one thing most people run from: stillness. Not because it feels good, but because it opens the portal. The portal to flow, to insight, to real work that carves its name into time. Most people escape boredom. High performers lean in. They don't run from the silence, they mine it. You want to overclock your brain? Then train it to stop demanding stimulation. The more you chase novelty, the more your brain forgets how to create. Dopamine is the currency of your attention, and you're leaking it on junk. Every swipe, every scroll, every just one more check bleeds your focus dry. You can't build mental power on a diet of digital snacks. You build it in the void, when your mind has nothing to cling to and finally begins to generate. Sit in the discomfort. Let the itch rise. Don't reach for a fix. This is where transformation begins. When your brain gets bored, it gets hungry, and a hungry brain builds. It starts to wander, connect dots, invent patterns, but only if you don't interrupt the process. The longer you delay gratification, the deeper your creative engine kicks in. That's not just self-control, that's neural evolution. This is what separates dabblers from masters. Dabblers get bored and quit. Masters get bored and dig. They ritualize stillness. They engineer monotony. They repeat the basics until the basics become extraordinary. Obsession isn't exciting, it's grueling. But through that grind, your brain learns to go deeper, not wider. Your edge isn't more entertainment, it's more emptiness. Because out of that emptiness comes originality. Focus isn't about discipline, it's about dopamine control. And boredom? That's the training ground. The price of brilliance isn't talent, it's tolerance, for repetition, for silence, for discomfort. So if you want to outwork every genius you know, don't just tolerate boredom, obsess with it, master it, let it sculpt your mind into something unstoppable. 4. Control is a super stimulus. Pressure doesn't break people. Powerlessness does. Most mental collapse doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from doing too much that wasn't your choice. Your brain doesn't burn out from effort. It burns out from the illusion of obligation. What it craves, deeply and instinctively, is command. Not chaos, not reaction. Control. And when you don't have it, Your cognitive bandwidth bleeds in silence. Every yes you say without alignment is a withdrawal from your mental RAM. One meeting here, one fake priority there, suddenly your brain is fragmented. The solution isn't rest, it's reclaiming the wheel. You don't need fewer hours. You need more ownership over each one. Own your inputs. Audit your time like it's sacred real estate. Because it is. The most elite minds master micro-decisions. They don't start their day with ambiguity. They script it. They decide before the world decides for them. When you cut the noise, eliminate the non-essential, and ritualize your rhythm, something wild happens. Time stretches. What feels like an hour to others becomes a day for you. This is not magic. It's cognitive efficiency. When you control your attention, you bend time. Autonomy is a super stimulus. It sharpens focus. It regulates stress. It signals to the brain, you're not trapped, you're in charge. And the moment you feel in charge, you unlock access to higher gears. Clarity replaces anxiety. Intentionality replaces overwhelm. Momentum becomes effortless. So cancel what doesn't serve you. Protect your mornings. Trim your commitments with a blade. Not because you're rude, but because you're ruthless about alignment. The more you own your schedule, the less life owns you. Most people measure success by how busy they are. High performers measure it by how clear they are. Not scattered, sovereign. That's the real flex. Not working harder, but working only on what moves the needle. Because when you control your minutes, you control your momentum. And the more control you build, the slower time feels. Because now, you're not surviving your day, you're designing it. 5. Discipline kills talent in the dark. Talent turns heads, but discipline builds empires in the dark. Geniuses shine when the lights are on, when the crowd claps, when the room listens. But that shine is surface. It's what happens when no one's watching that separates the exceptional from the unstoppable. Behind every overnight success is a graveyard of 0 days. Days when they could have moved and didn't. The ones who win don't need inspiration. They need systems. And they make the boring non-negotiable. Repetition is sacred. The pros don't rise on talent alone. They rise on ritual. They understand that progress is found in the unglamorous, the tedious, the daily grind that nobody wants to post about. And so they ritualize the reps. They don't rely on memory or mood. They design their days like athletes' structure workouts, built for consistency, not convenience. You want to outwork a genius? Then make inconsistency your enemy. Get allergic to it. Miss a day? That's not just a blip, it's a breach in your identity. Because identity isn't what you say, it's what you repeat. And each 0 day is a vote against who you're trying to become. Discipline means eliminating the question, should I do it today? It's done. It's already scheduled. It's non-negotiable. The world loves talent. Talent is sexy, but talent can be lazy, undirected, fragile. Discipline is different. It's invisible, quiet. But it builds like compound interest. It stacks until you pass the ones who were gifted. Because you didn't skip. You didn't flinch. You didn't wait. You just kept moving. Every late night, every early morning, every rep done in silence. That's where real dominance begins. Not in the spotlight, not in the highlight reel, but in the invisible grind where habits form and the mind hardens. You don't need more talent. You need fewer gaps, fewer excuses, fewer "I'll start tomorrows." You need fewer 0 days. Because the game isn't won with flashes of brilliance. It's won with brutal consistency. Kill the need to feel ready. Show up anyway. And let your silence become your signature. 6. Repetition is reinvention. Repetition isn't redundancy, it's refinement. You don't need more ideas. You need deeper roots. The world is obsessed with novelty, constantly chasing the next insight, the next hack, the next fix. But mastery doesn't live in the new. It lives in the familiar, done with new eyes. The best minds don't spread wide, they dig deep. They understand that brilliance isn't about knowing more, it's about seeing more in what you already know. You want to overclock your brain? Then stop hunting for shortcuts. Go back. Reread the same book. Rewatch the same lecture. Reapply the same principle, but at a higher level of awareness. Because every time you return, you've changed. Your lens has evolved. And that's the secret. Repetition reveals depth. What looked obvious last time suddenly becomes profound. What seemed irrelevant before now unlocks everything. This is how neural pathways strengthen, not through constant variety, but through reinforced signals. When you repeat, you embed, you encode, your brain learns to recognize patterns, to build fluency, not just knowledge. And that fluency becomes instinct. What others have to think about, you execute on reflex. Repetition isn't lazy, it's leverage. It's how the best separate from the rest. Because while everyone else is distracted by new trends, you're sharpening old tools into surgical weapons. You're not scattered, you're surgical, focused. And in a world of noise, depth is your competitive edge. Don't confuse boredom with mastery. Most people stop repeating because they confuse familiarity with finality. But the truth is, if you're bored, you haven't looked close enough. There's always another layer, always another connection waiting to click. This is how reinvention happens. Not by abandoning what works, but by re-seeing it with more precision, more presence, more intention. So go back, go deeper. Choose one thing and study it until it studies you back. Let repetition be the hammer that sharpens your edge. Because the smartest people in the room, they're not chasing new, they're refining timeless. You don't need a breakthrough, you need a return, over and over, until mastery becomes identity. 7. Optimize for obsession, not balance. Balance sounds noble, but in the pursuit of mastery, it's a myth. Balance is for maintenance. Obsession is for acceleration. You don't overclock your brain by splitting your energy evenly across life's chaos. You do it by integrating your obsession into everything. High performers don't ask, how do I balance work and passion? They merge them. They don't manage time. They eliminate distraction. Because they understand, you don't win by doing more. You win by doing less of what doesn't matter. Obsession isn't about grinding yourself into the ground. It's about designing a world where your focus is inevitable, where your desk pulls you in, your routines lock you down, and your environment becomes your silent coach. You shouldn't need to fight temptation if you've removed it. Your obsession should be embedded into your space, your tools, your rhythms, until even your laziness works in your favor. Look around. Every object in your environment is either sharpening your edge or dulling it. Every tab open, every notification allowed, every conversation you tolerate is either fueling your mission or draining it. This isn't about motivation. It's about strategic engineering. The obsessed don't rely on willpower. They build ecosystems of inevitability. Integration is the secret. Stop dividing your identity. If you're building something big, everything you do should feed it. Your reading, your workouts, your sleep, your circle. All of it becomes part of the machine. That's not imbalance. That's coherence. And coherence creates compounding intensity. People will tell you to chill, to balance, to back off. But remember, they're playing defense. You're building fire. And fire doesn't balance. It consumes. If you want a normal life, then sure, seek harmony. But if you want to outwork every genius you know, then your life needs to revolve around your vision. Obsession isn't unhealthy. It's how greatness happens. You don't need more hours. You need fewer leaks, murder distraction, design devotion, and let the world call it crazy while you call it clarity. 8. Break before burnout. Burnout doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from doing too much of what doesn't align. You're not exhausted because you're ambitious. You're exhausted because you're disconnected from clarity, from purpose, from sovereignty over your own energy. Working long hours isn't the problem. It's working long hours under emotional noise, under mental clutter, under the weight of expectations that don't belong to you. Your brain doesn't need rest. It needs a system reset. That reset starts with an audit, not of your to-do list, but of your inputs. Who are you listening to? What are you absorbing? Who drains you in the name of just checking in? Cut them. Emotional vampires don't just suck time, they rob cognition. Your clarity, your confidence, your fire, they leak without you noticing. And you don't realize how fragmented you are until you stop. Recovery isn't weakness, it's warfare. It's where warriors sharpen the blade, not drop the sword. High performers don't break because they go hard. They break because they don't pause with intention. There's a difference between rest and recovery. Rest is passive. Recovery is strategic. It's how you reload your mental operating system, realign your inputs, and upgrade your internal software. If your system's dirty, no amount of hustle will save you. You'll burn hot, then crash hard. But if your system's clean, you'll move like a machine. Not because you do less, but because every move is intentional. No wasted clicks, no mental drag, just velocity with vision. So take the break before the crash. Not to escape, but to realign. Clear the noise. Reclaim your energy from people, habits, and routines that never deserved it. You don't need to grind longer. You need to run cleaner. Efficient systems beat raw effort every time. Because the truth is, overclocking your brain isn't about how much you can push. It's about how sharply you can recover. That's the edge. That's the code. Reset often. Run clean. Stay lethal. If you're still waiting for the perfect time to get motivated, you've already lost the race. Your brain doesn't need more dopamine. It needs direction. Overclocking your mind isn't about working harder. It's about working cleaner, clearer, and more ruthlessly focused than anyone else in the room. So stop scrolling for hacks. Start becoming the system. Subscribe to Mindrift for more inspiring Buddhist insights on living a peaceful life. Because clarity isn't just power, it's freedom.